Hey everyone, this is Dr. William Clark, host of the Dr. William Clark podcast and pastor of Living Faith Church. Glad to be with you. The reason why I'm specifically highlighting the church that I pastor, and shout out to all the members of Living Faith. Glad to see you guys. The reason why I'm shouting out the church today is because we're doing a quick podcast to talk about how to launch your online church. And given the changes that we're going through in our country, many churches, who are nonprofit organizations, faith-based institutions, are switching to online services, online worship, online Bible study, online everything. And for a number of churches, this is a new thing for them. And so they're struggling to figure out, how do I get from point A to point B? We've been meeting for years. We've never considered online streaming, or we've been doing it with someone's cell phone, but now we got to do it remotely. And as a pastor, I don't know how to do it. And so I wanted to come on and do a quick podcast to talk about what it takes to do it. Now, part of the reason why I wanted to do this is because of the history of our church. Now, years ago, before we moved to Connecticut, before we launched a live service, my wife and I launched an online ministry, and it was a part of what we were doing on the ground anyway. We were living in Philadelphia, and we knew that Connecticut was on the horizon, and so we thought, we don't know anyone, we don't know what's going to happen, and we're still building relationships, and so why don't we just start an online presence specifically for the church, connecting with people that say that they're people of faith, just to get our face and name out there. And that began our journey of online church, right? That was back in 2014, 2015. And we've been doing it ever since, right? It's been a part of our ministry ever since. And at that time, for what I remember, you didn't see a lot of social media streaming of church, right? You saw people doing individual Bible studies or whatever the case may be. And even that was like rare. You saw bigger churches streaming very, very little. If they streamed straight to their websites, or they had a broadcast that was pre-recorded, pre-taped, and sent to a major network like TBN or the Word Network. But you didn't see the masses of church. You didn't see the masses of the kingdom doing what's happening now. And so everybody's having to switch. Now, for a lot of people, last Sunday was the very first time that they've recorded a service, streamed a service, done whatever they needed to do online. There were a few mega churches who typically stream, and they stream to social media at times, stream to their website, but had to do it in a different way. And so now we're going back to what was cool at the time, which was streaming service, streaming worship, streaming stuff without an audience. It's different because, as people that go to church know, we get together because we are called to do it. We're called to assemble ourselves, to grow together, to be empowered by each other's testimonies. That's how we overcome. Now that we are online, you have various generations going to church, young to old. People are trying to figure out how to plug in and to still get church in and still have that fellowship worship experience. It's new. It's different. So I want to share a few things that I've learned with you. I want to share some things that I know that continues to work for me. Some of the stuff I want to share, I'm going to specifically point out I'm not an expert in, and we'll talk about that stuff. But I want to share some thoughts with you. I want to make sure that we have all of this recorded and shared with you. And again, as we get through this podcast, if you have questions, leave them below. Do my best to answer them. But let's go ahead into the presentation, right? The first thing I want to share with you as the pastor, as the teacher, as the leader, is when you switch to online, and you're doing this because of the pandemic and the virus that's going around, before you do anything else, you got to prep yourself. You got to prep your mind, your body, and your soul. As the deliverer, as the messenger, as the teacher, as the one who is delivering what church is all about, the word, the preached word, the taught word, you must prepare yourself, mind, body, and soul, to actually do what I'm doing now, which is grabbing a mic, grabbing a camera, and talking directly into the camera with absolutely no audience around. It's no fanfare. It's like being in the studio. It's just you, your mic, and your camera, and the word that the Lord gave you. Now, as you do that, it can be weird for a lot of people. I can tell you, as we switched over our nonprofit to working remotely, it has been strange for some people. Some of our colleagues, some of our partners, some of our competitors are struggling. People in the for-profit arena who haven't done it, who haven't made it an intentional, full-time, hardcore thing, it has been weird. So as a pastor, as one who is getting ready to switch your ministry online, you're not alone. This is not weird. Everybody's going through it. Therefore, accept whatever's getting ready to happen. And I mean the awkwardness, the mistakes, the stumbles you're going to make. It's a part of switching to an online environment. I will say that even though you're going to be doing this online and you're nervous about this and that, think about this. If someone recorded every mistake you made, every hiccup you've been a part of, or every misstep you made in the ministry real time, what's the difference? It's happened in real time with real people. It's going to happen in real time, recorded or streamed. Your audience, your congregation, new visitors are going to see it. You got to be comfortable with being comfortable. And you got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Maybe I should say that, right? You got to be comfortable with being you. Being you behind a camera, being you without a camera. You are who you are. The only difference is there's no fanfare. There's no amen that's going to support you. There's no live audience that's going to bump you or give you the energy you need. You may not get the faces that confirm what you want to, what you're trying to say. And with all that being said, you're going to have to stand and deliver the message that you have. So you got to prepare your mind, your body, and your soul. Next, you want to prep your audience, right? You want to prep the people that are going to receive what you have, right? And you got to let your people know that, listen, because of the pandemic, because of the switch that we have to make with our live worship, we're going to have to make some changes. And it's absolutely okay. Now, if you haven't done that yet because of where you are in the country or because of the size of your congregation, you might want to start prepping people for the possibility of that, right? You want to make sure that they know that if we haven't dispersed yet, it's coming, right? It could come. We could get a mandate from our local officials, and we will have to abide by them. But you got to prepare the people. And as you prepare the people, you want to make sure that you give them all the resources that they're going to have to use to tap into whatever you're going to be doing online. Whether it's a conference call number, whether it's a Facebook Live, an Instagram Live, a Periscope Live, a YouTube Live, or a pre-recorded session or teaching or service that will be released on X date at X time. Whatever you're deciding, you got to prep your people. Next, you want to select a recording strategy. As I just said, is it going to be live or is it going to be pre-recorded? This is the linchpin for a lot of pastors that they've been wrestling with. The people in my circle, I've noticed that they've been wrestling with, how do I do live? How do I do pre-recorded? And a lot have opted to do pre-recording. And I agree with that because here's the thing. When you see the mega churches, the large churches, the ones that have an operation going on, the reason they're able to stream live pre-coronavirus is because they had the pastor who was standing and delivering. They had other folks who are on stage delivering, whether it's the worship leader, the executive pastor making announcements, etc. And then there was a whole separate operation, whole separate staff that were responsible for the recording. They are behind the camera, they're behind the PC, they are controlling the audio, and they can manage all of that while the preacher can just preach and talk. That is a difficult thing to do if it's just you trying to make that happen live by yourself. Now, there are some people who have been adept to it. I've been doing it for a number of years. I believe I can manage doing it live. I prefer not to do it live, and I'll explain that in a moment. But for those of you that have never done it, who've never experienced live or pre-recorded experiences, one of the things I'll recommend is that you consider doing a pre-recorded because it allows you to record everything you need to record. It allows you to do whatever you need to do to have all of the inserts you want, whether you have pre-recorded worship, pre-recorded announcements, pre-recorded sermon, and then the transitions of scriptures and all the other stuff. You can bake all that into your pre-recording. And it allows you to just release it at a specific time, premiere it, as opposed to trying to navigate all that stuff live. It gets weird if you're trying to show a scripture by holding up your Bible to the camera or holding a piece of paper up to the camera, or if you don't have the software and the hardware to do accurate and on-time switching, if you don't have the tools to do it. So I prefer to do pre-recorded, primarily because of the reasons I just shared, right? I don't have a staff that does my camera work. I do a lot of my own camera work. Right now with our church, we record with the iPad. For years, I've made fun of people who take pictures with iPads, but I got to tell you, as one who is recording with an iPad, the service, the big screen is amazing. The cameras front and back are amazing, and it allows me to see what's going on because I don't have someone who's monitoring the back of the room, and I can't stop service to fix the camera or to make sure I'm in focus. So the best thing for me is to look right at the camera, which is the iPad, look at the big screen, and it's big enough that I can see myself far or close, and it works. After that, post production, do whatever I got to do. I try to minimize my edits, and boom, it's done, right? And I think for a lot of pastors, that might be the way to go. You can pre-record Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and release a Sunday. You can pre-record weeks in advance. You can pre-record multiple sermons, multiple worship sessions, multiple whatever, and just have them ready to go lined up. If you know what God has given you to teach, release it. Just record it, right? In some cases, you may just grab a recorder or your iPhone or your cell phone and just record an audio message and just release it. Whatever works, whatever it takes, you can do it. Next, you want to look at your recording tools. You want to make sure you have your video set. As I said, I have an iPad. At times, I've used extra iPhones as a camera. We are considering getting a Mevo as a part of our video recording. You're going to need your sound. This, what you're seeing in front of me, is more of a radio podcasting mic. This is not necessarily appropriate for recording a worship service if you're going to be doing it like in a room. If you're going to be sitting down and in front of a camera, this might be a fit, but you may want to get a lapel mic that connects to your device. Now, for me, with the iPad, I will specifically tell you we have an iPad Pro. We have the audio connected with a Comica wireless mic system, which works specifically for cell phones. It's an amazing bundle, and once I found it over a year ago, it's been gold for me. I have the receiver plugged into the iPad. I have the lapel mic plugged into my shirt. If you ever seen any of our services and me preaching, you'll see this little black dot. That is the mic, and the belt pack is on my belt, and it records directly as if it's a professional recording. And you can adjust the sound, etc. You're going to have to make sure that you have those options set up. Some people just want to get a cell phone and record and just make it happen. You can make that happen. You just need good video, good sound. If you find that your phone cannot handle that your phone is old and it doesn't have good video, doesn't have a good selfie camera, doesn't have good sound from the phone itself, you're going to have to make some adjustments. You may have to upgrade your phone. There have been times where I have been places and I just didn't feel like carrying equipment. I set up a tripod with my cell phone and I put my AirPods in my ear, and my AirPods served as my microphone, and it did the job, right? So you may want to do that, where you just get your buds that you put in your ear, or your buds that have the cord to it with the microphone on the cord, plug into your phone and record. Whatever you got to do, whatever is affordable, do it. You're going to see a whole lot of stuff over the next couple weeks of churches doing a whole lot of creative stuff. Listen, do not compete with that. You cannot. It is expensive. This stuff I got, this is no way like the top of the line at all. But it cost me a pretty penny. And I'm telling you, because you're making this off-the-cuff adjustment due to everything else, it is not worth spending all that money just so you can keep up with other churches. It's not that deep. If you just need to get the word of the Lord out to your people, focus on that. Record, get it set up, and make it happen. The recording process. I pre-record my stuff, as I said. I use an app on my, whether it's an iPhone camera or the iPad, called Movie Pro Plus. I don't use all the features of that app because I'm not a videographer. I'm not a photographer. I just select what looks good. And I know the videographers and the photographers out there are saying, bro, you need to adjust this, adjust that. Look, if you can help me, message me, right? But for someone who's not a professional, this is one of those areas. I'm not a professional. I'm not a professional in videography, photography, and I'm not a professional in audio at all. The only reason I know what I know is because I kept YouTubing. YouTube University, which is not a real university, but everybody that uses that term knows what that means. YouTube, you can find anything on YouTube. Because of that, I have found what I found, and I found what works for me and within my budget and with what I had. And so I pre-record utilizing the Movie Pro app, hit the record button, set up everything. I have a tripod stand that rolls into place at church, or I can roll it into place in our church office, and I hit the record button, plug in the mics, and we are good to go. There are times that on Wednesday, primarily our Bible study day, I do not use the iPad at all. I actually do what I'm doing now. Sit down at our podcasting platform with our mics, our mic and our boom arm, got the camera rolling, got the iPad, the computer going, and I record the Bible study, and it's going. So whatever floats your boat, do it. I rarely sit down and just do like a random cell phone recording. It's just not a thing that I do. It's nothing wrong with it. People do it. I just don't, because I spent the money to have what I have and I want to use it. But whatever it takes, you got to have a process in place. Now, if you're going to pre-record, you got to edit and then you got to post. For me, for years, I was utilizing iMovie with my Mac. iMovie comes free with Apple products, whether it's an iPad or a Mac, a laptop, or a iMac's desktop, right? As of the past year, I've been utilizing a tool called LumaFusion. I paid $20 to $30 for the app. It works on the iPad Pro that I have, and I got to be honest, man, it's an advanced. I think it's more advanced than iMovie. It's not as advanced as the other tools that some of the professionals are utilizing, but LumaFusion works on the iPad, works faster than my laptops, and it gets the job done really, really quick, and I can do it on the go with my iPad, export it, upload it, and boom, there it is. I've gotten pretty good at inserting images if I feel like doing it, graphics if I feel like doing it. I got really good at cutting out mistakes. So one of the things I encourage you to do if you're going to be pre-recording, do not stop recording. If you make a mistake, if you say something crazy, just say, literally, do what I'm about to say. The sky is red. Cut here. The sky is blue and the sun is shining, right? Obviously, the sky is not red, right? If you make a mistake and say something crazy, just say cut here and continue with your statement and correct it and move on. The reason why I say that, and this is a feature, or not a feature, but like a technique that I've been utilizing for years, is you don't want to stop the recording, re-record whatever you think you need to re-record, and then pick up from there. You don't want to lose your thought. You don't want to lose your vocals. You don't want to lose the momentum you have. You want to keep going with what you're doing and the momentum that you've built up recording this particular video. This allows you also, when you say cut here, it tells you cut here and go back a few seconds to remove what I said that was wrong or crazy or off. Remove a sound, remove the sirens, remove the whatever image in the background that my picture fell or whatever. Just simply say cut here, go back a few seconds, cut it out, edit, and then reconnect the forward feed. You're going to do that a couple times in one recording. Some recordings I have a whole lot of cuts, and you'll see the jump cuts. There's no way to kind of get rid of it. It is what it is, but it helps just to record straight through to say cut here and make the proper adjustments. And then you want to go ahead and post. You want to post on the social media pages, your website, etc. For me, I do not post on our website. I post everything on YouTube and all social media platforms. YouTube, I utilize YouTube for obviously streaming and showing whatever we want to show, but I utilize YouTube for video storage. Last year, I podcasted a lot, and I bought an external drive, and I was getting it in. And there are a lot of podcasts on my external drive I have yet to release, if you believe it or not. But I went through a whole year last year, recorded a lot, posted a lot, but then I ate up the drive probably 8 to 9 months in, and I was deleting stuff and trying to make space, and then I started recording and uploading raw footage to my YouTube account just to store it because it's unlimited, right? And then I would, edit whatever I'm editing and then release and make public the clean version. I have the raw version with all the bloopers and the mess in the background, and I have the clean version with everything touched up, looking great, sounding great. The touched up version gets released publicly to YouTube. It gets released publicly to Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And I still have the raw footage. So if I ever want to pull something from the raw footage, something that really was cool that I took out for whatever reason, I can just download it and I have access to it. Just a tip that I use. Broadcasting tools. Everybody knows about Facebook Live, IG Live, Instagram Live. Zoom has become really, really popular. If you never heard of Zoom, you heard of it now. And YouTube. You can stream through all of those things. If you're going to stream, I believe Zoom streams to every one of those platforms. You're just going to have the proper account features to do that. Again, you can do Facebook, IG Live from your phone. I don't know if you can do YouTube streaming on your phone these days. It seems like they've kind of switched that around. So you got to look that up. But Zoom, if you're in front of a laptop, you can Zoom, and then it can stream out to those platforms. So take a look at that and see what options work for you. If you pre-record, broadcasting options, if you pre-record, one of the things I encourage you to do, particularly on Facebook, set your video on Facebook and YouTube as a premiere. It will premiere on Sunday at 10 a.m., and the video will show up as if it's a live video, and people will tune in and be a part of whatever video worship you put together. The singing, the prayers, the announcements, and yes, the Word of God. All of it's live, uninterrupted, stream live, and you can see people tuning into your broadcast. You can also, like I said, you can premiere it. You can do post-production streaming. This is something I do for my Bible studies. So typically I may record Bible study days or weeks in advance. When it becomes Bible study night, I give everybody a Zoom phone number and a Zoom link where they can watch and or call in. I get the iPad set up and I go to where the video was stored. I share my screen to the Zoom platform, and I hit play of the video that's been pre-recorded for Bible study, and boom, it is a live feed. I do that for people who call in, and it's almost like a live conversation. I have it premiering on YouTube and Facebook at the same time. And then you can do those things that I mentioned about premiering and post-production streaming, or you can just simply post it. You know, you don't have to post on Sunday only. People can go to church any day of the week and still be in the presence of the Lord. It's up to you. You just post it real time Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, whatever the case may be. Now, when it comes to your broadcast, you want to manage your broadcast. Now, remember, I told you that particularly on Bible study, I stream it on Facebook, YouTube. It's premiering. It's already uploaded, but it's premiering. It's been dated for a date and a specific time at the same date and time on both platforms, and I stream live on Zoom. Now, when I do this, I have at least 2 to 3 devices set up. The reason I do this is so that I can monitor the feed on the phone. So when my senior citizens call in, I can make sure I hear what they're hearing. That I have a lot of people in my church who are working during that time. They're calling in, listening. They have the phone on speaker, and they got their colleagues listening. So I got to make sure I hear what they hear. So I call in as well. On my iPad, I use my iPad to stream the video, the pre-recorded video, to Zoom, which shows up as a video on Zoom, and it shows up as a sound on the phone call. And then I have my laptop that is monitoring the Facebook live feed that's premiering the video, as well as the YouTube live feed. And because of that, I'm able to see comments. I can see people coming in. I can greet people. I can post announcements. I can post scriptures or whatever the case may be. Yes, it is an IT war room. It is a computer war room. But I do that so I can keep up. And because I pre-recorded the message and the whole presentation for the evening, all I got to do is focus on the feed. Now, it makes it easier for me to pre-record it because I have a very busy schedule running a nonprofit and doing a bunch of stuff during the week. And so for me, doing live Bible study, if I'm home or if it's not like in person, it's just easier to record it. Now, if we do it live in person, it's a different scenario. And of course, as you know, when you have church live, the energy in the room gives you the adrenaline that you may be needing for that evening. You've been working all day as a pastor, whether it's in the ministry full-time or work full-time, and that energy in the room just lifts you up and gives you an extra something that you just didn't have before service started. So since we're not doing that because of the quarantine, that strategy that I'm sharing with you, the pre-recording strategy, can be really, really helpful. And it allows you, when you manage your broadcast, just stay in that for a minute. Again, you can manage comments, and it allows you to be present. So you can see what works, what doesn't work. Is your technology working? Your internet working? At what point are people calling, or at what point people are engaging? What can I do to get the word out, etc.? So those are a few tips and tricks that I use, that I have used, and I continue to use for an online church experience. Again, I've been doing it for years, and I continue to do it today. It's an integral part of the work that we do in the ministry. We try to mix that up with live worship service. This is pre-corona, right? So we try to mix it up because we know that during the week, people are still navigating life. They got children, they got jobs, they got careers, they got family members who are in need, and yet they still want to get it in with the word of the Lord. They need a spike of the word of the Lord for that midweek bump. And so we have integrated it into our ministry, and it's been working. If this stuff is helpful, feel free to use it. If you have questions about my process and what I do, just leave me a comment message. So like, subscribe to this channel, forward this video to anybody in your network that can use it, and particularly for pastors who are of a certain age who are looking to transition, and it's hard and it's different, but let them know that they watch this video. It is possible if you just do some of the basic things that I talked about. This is the Dr. William Clark Podcast. We'll see you in the next episode.